We have completed in servlets concept, so servlet lifecycle and servlet API. So using the methods of request and as well as some of the methods in the response object we have seen, like request.get parameter, request.get parameter values, request.get parameter names, and also so in the response object we have seen response.set content type, response.getWriter, and response.send redirect method, and request dispatcher object we have discussed. So using a request dispatcher, so we can able to forward or include the response of other servlets using request dispatcher object dot forward method and request dispatcher object dot include method. Okay. So these are the different servlet API information we have discussed, and we have seen the examples and different kinds of demos, demonstrations on the servlets. Okay, so now we are going to see how to access databases and how to do database operations in servlets. Okay, so for doing the database operations, generally we have to use JDBC API. So we have to write the code related to the JDBC API in the servlet. So we have to integrate the JDBC code into the servlets. For integration of JDBC code into the servlets, okay. So instead of writing the entire logic of JDBC related code into the servlets itself, nothing the servlet class itself, so we have to separately design the classes related to the JDBC and create the methods in such a way that what kind of JDBC operation that we are going to perform in the databases. So design or implement the methods in the classes, non-normal Java classes, and create the objects in the servlet classes of the JDBC classes, and create the objects, and using the objects wherever if you want, wherever you are going to uh, perform the DVMS operations or JDBC operations, use that object and call the appropriate methods from the JDBC related classes and apply the operations related to the JDBC. So this is a simple methodology. So we have to follow for doing the JDBC operations in the servlets. Okay, so I will give the demonstration of how to do the JDBC operations and various kinds of JDBC operations that we have to perform in servlets. Okay, so I think we have to again revise the JDBC operations. By taking the revision of JDBC operations along with the taking the revision of JDBC operations, we have to see how to write the code and integrate the JDBC related code into the servlets. So that is the point here. So I'm going to the MySQL interface, MySQL workbench, and sample database I have created already. So CGC DB. Have you seen CGC DB schema? Have you all been able to see MySQL workbench with the database CGC DB? Students, please don't waste the time. Whenever I'm asking you, please respond immediately. Don't వేరే వాళ్ళు ఎవరో ఇస్తారు మనకు అవసరం లేదులేని అని చెప్పేసి కాదండి. Whenever I'm asking the questions or whenever I'm wanted to get the confirmation from you all, so please respond immediately.
We can see, sir.
Okay, thank you. So inside CGC DB, so we have two tables are there, students table and users table. If I am going to see students table, so there are the columns like registration number, name, branch, batch, and course. Okay, and we have several rows are also be there in this database around I think see mm, so around 6,837 rows are there. 6,837 rows are there with the students information, like, okay, so the students information are framed using registration number, name, branch, batch, and course. Okay, so here we want to access this table information into the servers. Okay, so here, so for this, I just want to create a servlet project, a new project, dynamic web project. The project name, DB operations, DB operations. DB operations add, and then finish. Okay, so inside this, so first I have to design JDBC related classes. Okay, so for this I have to create a new package, new package. Creating the name for the package. Okay, under this JDB operations, so I have to create a normal class. DB connection. DB operations. Okay. So here the inside the packages, whenever you are doing JDBC operations, you don't include the main method. Just remove the main method. Okay. So one by one, so I am creating the methods for various different kinds of operations here. So first method I am creating here. So public. Okay. So connection is a return type. Okay. Get connection. Connection. If you want clear name, get DB connection here. So, okay. So connection class is not available, so that we have to include connection java.sql.star. Okay. So then, first of all, we have to establish the connection with the MySQL. So for establishing the connection with the MySQL, so actually I have to ask with you all. So, but you are giving the response very lately. Okay, so that I have to copy the code related to the JDBC. Okay, here the first thing is class that for name. So I have to create class that for name for loading the JDBC driver for the MySQL. com.mysql.jdbc.driver. Okay, just copy this statement. Next statement, connection con equal to driver manager dot get connection of JDBC colon MySQL colon localhost colon 3306, but you have to change the DB name here. So the DB name, as I already shown to you, DB name is CGCDB. CGCDB. Username is root, password, no password here. Okay. And then what is the next statement? Okay, so preparation of the SQL statements, nothing. Okay, so here, so we have to put this connection con equal to null. So I have to put it into try catch block. Okay, so surround with the try catch. Right click source. So surround with try catch blocks. These two statements are in try catch block. Okay, so once connect, then we have to return this connection. And then next public release connection. Release connection. Argument connection con. Here we have to use connection dot close. So we have to put it into try catch block. Add surround try catch. Okay. All, as we know, so all database operations we have to be written in between of create connection and close connection. Okay, so within these two statements we have to do database operations here. Okay, the next, so public. Okay, so we have to create a method for getting the students information. Here getting the students information. So for getting the students information, suppose the arguments are like so I want to get the students information like branch equal to id and batch equal to suppose 10. Okay, so then we will get the three different students information. So if you are giving the batch with ID and branch with ID and batch with the 10, so then we will get three different rows. So for getting the students information, so these number of values required as per our requirement. Okay, so that the input for input for the students information is branch value and batch value. Okay, so that get students details of branch string batch. So we'll get a list of rows. Okay, and all these rows we have to put them into one specific collection framework, and that collection framework we have to return back. Okay, so I'm taking array list as a collection framework. So I have to read all the rows of the given branch and the batch and put them into the array list, and this array list has to be written back. Okay, so this is the task I have to perform. Okay, so array list collection framework, so that we have to import. So here I create array list object like students equal to new array list. Okay. So immediately I have to establish the connection. So for establishment of the connection, so I have to call the method get DB connection. So first we have to create prepared statement. So for example, first query equal to, okay. So you please unmute yourself and tell me the required query what I have to write here. I want to get the student information of given branch and given batch.
Select star from
Select star from, yeah, so table name is here students,
seed.
next
Where branch equals to IT,
Branch equals to
where
branch equals to IT,
branch equal to
given
branch equal
branch.
to branch equal to, so we don't know about a given branch, so that is there in the variable branch and batch is there. So we have to create a prepared statement. For prepared statement we have to use wildcard character. What is the wildcard character here? For creating, no, no. If the value is not known exactly, so then, so what is the symbol I have to use? No?
Question mark.
Question mark, sir.
Very
Question
good.
mark, sir.
So where branch equal to question mark and batch equal to question mark. Okay. Now start from students where branch equal to question mark and batch equal to question mark. Okay. Now I have to create a prepared statement. Prepared statement PSMT equal to conduct prepare statement of query. Okay. Prepare statement we have to import java.sql package. Next, after this prepare statement, so we have to set the values for question marks. Okay, so how to set the values for the question marks in the query? Now I want to set the values for question marks in the query. How to set the values for the question marks?
PSMT dot set
Set to,
string.
okay, very good. Set string. Okay, very good, very good. Set string for the question mark. For the first question mark, what value I have to set?
Branch, sir.
Branch, very good. Okay. And for the second question mark, what value I have to set?
Batch, sir.
Okay. So once all the question marks have been set with the corresponding values, so then we have to execute the query. Execute query. Okay. So for after execution of the query, so what object I have to receive? After execution of the query, by applying the execute query, what object I have to receive? Result set rs equal to psmt dot execute query. Okay. So result set you have to import java.sql. Next, so all these statements we have to put into try catch. Okay, so we'll put later. Okay, otherwise surround with try catch. Okay, execute query. So once we get a result set object, so then I have to iterate the result set object for reading the values from the columns. Rs dot next. Okay, so what is the first column here? Registration number. Okay, so to read the first column, so rs dot get string of 1. So here for representation of the student, so what are the properties? Registration number, name, branch, batch, course. Okay, so for representation of a row in our program, so we have to create one Pojo class here. Okay, so the Pojo class I'm creating here, new class student. Okay, so what are the properties? String, registration number, string, name, string, next one is branch, string, batch, string,
Course. Course, sir.
okay, course, very good. So I have to add getters and setters also for this method, for these properties inside the student class. Okay, so I have added getters and setters for these properties: registration number, name, branch, batch, and course, and the name of the Pojo class here, student. Okay, so now so as this array list used for holding the student object, so that I have to create a generalized class, generic class student. Okay. So here I have to create student object, student is equal to new student. Okay, so as the first column of the table retrieves the registration number, so I have to set the registration number of the student by getting the value of the first column from the table. Okay, so I have to call st dot set registration number of rs dot get string of 1. Again, st dot set name of rs dot get string of 2. So second column data is name, so that I have to set this name in the student object. And again, st dot set branch rs dot get string of 3. Am I right? st dot set batch of rs dot get string of 4. Next, st dot set course of rs dot get string of 5. Okay, so the corresponding column data is to be set with the corresponding property of the student. So first row, we got the first row. For the first row, I have created set all the values of the first row into the corresponding st object. So immediately, so I have to add this student object into array list students. Yeah, so students dot add of st. The first row data has been read and created the object corresponding Pojo class object and set all the values, and then add this student object into students. So the first row is completed. So then again iteration is continued. Once loop is continued, so then we will get another row, and for this second row I have already I have created a new st object. It will create new st object and read the columns data from the second row and set those values into the second ST object and add this ST object into the students. And the third row iteration will be continued. The third row will be getting, and for the third row student ST will be created, and we set the properties of the student object by reading the columns data and then add this ST object to this. So this will be continued until there are no more rows from the result set. So once we got the students object, okay, so now the students object, which is array list object, student set of students, a collection of student objects which have been read from the table students with the query of given branch and given batch. Okay, so once we are read, so then we just return the array list object. Return students. Here the students is a type of student generic class, so that here also we have to write student. So similar this based on the different criterias or based on the different arguments of the students, we will design the different kinds of methods here similar to this. Okay, suppose this method will be applicable only for the given branch and the batch. Okay, suppose my query otherwise, okay, so I want to get the details of BTech, only BTech students. So then the query has to be changed, like course equal to BTech. So this method is not applicable because this method is applicable for given branch and batch, but for the given I have not designed the method. Okay, so similar to this method, we have to design another method based on the given course values. We have to read the student table. Okay, so that you have to create a new method again. So public array list to get students details course wise. Okay, argument course. The similar this, and the query is select star from students where course equal to question mark and everything is same. Okay, so this is whenever you wanted to design the method in such a way that, okay, for the given values the data has to be read. So this is the standard pattern here. There is no logic and there is no need of thinking in depth. Just create the appropriate method with relevant arguments and create the database connection, construct the query relevant to that arguments, and create the prepared statement and set the values into the question marks, and then execute the query, and you read the result set object, and using the result set object iterate the result set object, and inside this iteration looping, so you create the relevant POSO class, and using this POSO class you have to set the properties which have been read from the columns data and add this POSO class into the array list, and at last you have to return the students object. Okay, so before returning, so we have to release the connection. Put it into release connection. What is that release connection? Okay, release connection. So whatever the connection you have established using the con object, you just pass this con object to the release connection. So then the release connection will take the responsibility of closing the connection for the given connection object. Okay, so this is a simple one. Okay, all right. The next, so I want to create another method, public int public int insert student of student object. So one by one, in the next class, prepare how to, please see how to insert the values into the database. Okay, see that query and prepare that query. And the next class, and the 11 o'clock, so you have to tell one by one the statement inside the method insert student. Okay, so now we will take the break, and the 11 o'clock we will continue the class by uh, how to insert the student details into the database. Okay, so so just wait, I'm sharing my screen. Okay, so come back to the program. So I'm going to create a definition of the method insert student to insert a new row into the student table. Okay, so as usually the same procedure. The first of all, I just copy this entire code. Okay, so can you tell the insert statement to insert new student details? How to insert the values?
Insert into
Insert into table name,
table
student
values.
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 Okay, how many
Values of
question marks they have to put?
question mark. Question mark, comma, question mark. Comma,
How
five
many
question
questions?
marks.
1, 2,
Five, sir.
3, 4, 5. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Question marks, 5 question marks. Because 5 columns are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So 5 columns, 5 question marks. Okay. So here, a student object which contains actual information to be inserted into the table. Okay. So here, insert into student values. So one by one, one question mark by question mark, we have to read the data from the student object and set the question mark in the prepared statement here. Okay. So here, for the first question mark, what data I have to read from student object? For the question mark, for the first question mark, what data element from the student object I have to read? Get registration number. For the second question mark, st dot get name, and then name. For the third question mark, st dot get. For the third question mark, what is that branch? Dot get branch. For the fourth question mark, st dot get batch.
Batch.
And the next, for the fifth question mark, st dot get course. Okay, very good. So for 5 question marks, I have replaced the question marks with the corresponding values of the student object. Okay, so then, so for the insert into, since it is a DML statement, so that I have to call execute update. Execute update, which returns integer value that indicates how many values have been updated in the table. Int rows updated. Okay, so here no need of iterating the result set object, because it returns only a single integer value which indicates how many number of rows have been updated. Okay, so this integer rows. Okay, so I have declared integer rows here because I have to return separately out of try block. Here I am updating the rows value with the execute update method. Okay, and then after releasing the connection, so I just return the value rows. Okay, so clear all the students. I just insert into student and then prepare one SQL statement, prepared statement, and then I'm setting the values of all question marks corresponding to the value of the student object, and then I call update method, execute update method, which returns number of rows updated, which is held in the rows variable. And at last, after closing the connection with the database, I just return the rows to the calling method itself. Okay, so this is the way how to insert the student row into the database. Okay, so again, so come back to servlets class, DB operations. I have to create a package servlet. Where is that package? Okay, package servlets. Okay, inside this I just add servlet class, name of the class here, DB servlet. Do get and do post. Okay, so here the first of all, so I have to create a HTML page here. Okay, so new HTML file. Okay, so here I am using index.html for the namesake. Here I have to create a form. Okay, form action equal to, what is that, db servlet dot slash db servlet, and then method equal to better post. Okay, so next, so I have to create a form with the form elements like branch and batch. Okay, so because in the earlier methods, what are the arguments I have to pass here? DB operations. Okay, so branch and batch. So these branch and batch has to be asked from the end user and received these two branch and batch values in the servlet, and these branch and batch values we have to send to this get student details by creating object of corresponding DB operations object here. Okay, so this is the thing what we have to do now. Okay, so now the first next input. Sorry, I'll put it into table. Table here td branch td left name equal to branch option value equal to only the branches that are existed in the DB we have to write. Okay, so better I have to retrieve all the rows like I dot t c dot s dot e m dot e e dot c dot e values only we have to insert into the options value. Okay, e dot c dot e. Next, so same thing I have to written here. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's see. Okay, okay. IT triple E. Okay, and these values we have to put into option value also. to pass to the servlet. Here close, and again here PD PD type equal to text, name equal to batch, then at last here PD or span equal to 2, input type equal to submit, value equal to submit, here close, table close, and then form close. This is the HTML form which is used for asking the branch and as well as batch. Okay, and this information will be passed to the DB servlet. Okay, so go to DB servlet, and go to do post method. Here, so we have to set the content type from the response object. Set content type text/html, and then print writer out equal to response dot get writer. Okay, we need to include the print writer object into our program from java.io package, and then okay, now we have to interact with the databases, so that we have already created a DB related class. Okay, so first we have to create object from DB operations. DB operations DB equal to new DB operations. So here DB operations class is not found because we are at servlets package, but the DB operations is there in the DB operations package, so that we need to import DB operations package also. So from this DB operations, DB dot get student details of branch and batch. Okay, so here branch and batch values we have to read from form. Okay, so string branch equal to request dot get parameter of branch, and again string batch equal to request dot get parameter of batch. So two values I have read from HTML, and these two values we have to pass over to the student DB operations class. The method get student details. I am passing branch which has been read from HTML form, batch which has been again read from the HTML form. Okay, so the get student details which returns us one array list. Okay, so we have to receive the array list here. Which kind of array list? Student array list. Okay, so here the list equal to we need to include the array list again. Okay, the student also be there in the DB operation, so that we need to import the student object also. We have to iterate a student array list object. So how to iterate the array list object? Better we have to use iterator it equal to list dot iterator, or otherwise better use for loop for student st colon list. Okay, so here I have to read each and every attribute of the student which has been read from the database. Student registration number equal to st dot get registration number, and then student name equal to st dot get name, and then string branch equal to st dot get branch, and then string batch equal to st dot get batch, and then string course equal to st dot get course. As branch already be there in our program, and batch is also be there in our program. Okay, so better no need of reading again from the student object. Okay, so we ensure that we are getting the details of a particular branch and batch only, so that we are not necessary to read again the branch and batch from the student object here, from the list student object here. Okay, so here now we got the information, particular first row information, registration number, name and course, and these information we have to display in the table, for example. Okay, so for displaying into the table, so we have to open the table tag here. Table order equal to 1 out dot println. Every row has to be created, so that row creation we have to put into the loop itself. Okay, so that in every iteration a new row will be created. So for creating the new row, so as we have to open the tr tag. So tr tag opening should be in the looping statement. Out dot println tr, and then out dot println of td plus registration number plus td, and again uh, yeah, better we have to create the column headings using no in a th tag. Then name, then branch and batch also be there, so that only course registration name course. Or that println tr, we have to create a tr again. Close tr here. Tr tag, and then registration number is printed in the first column, and in the second column we have to print name. Okay. So in the loop itself, I have printed registration number from the student object, name of the student object, course of the student object, and put them all in TD columns, TD tags. Okay, and I'm closing this loop, and as well as method and the class. Okay, so let's run this application. So use this Tomcat 7. Please be wait. So, okay. Next. Yeah. So coming to CSC, okay, batch, for example, 2018 batch. 2018 batch CSC. Okay. So registration number, name, course, but no data displayed. Why the no data display? Yeah. So I got all 2018 batch CSC students here. So they're all total CSC students. Okay. Did you get my screen? In the web page, all CSC students are getting. Okay, so if you go back, suppose if I'm getting IT and 18 batch, and if you click on submit, so then we got 18 batch IT students. Yeah, this is 18 batch IT students. Right. Okay. So please modify the code accordingly. So please help me. So here in this, I don't have serial numbers. Okay, so I have to put the serial number in each and every column. Okay, so can you display the serial number? How to display the serial number? Tell me the logic. It's a very simple
Insert
logic to
the
display the
serial
serial
number
number.
with 1 before loops.
Okay, serial number equal to 1. Okay, next.
In the heading even we have to take serial numbers before registration number.
Registration
Out
number,
dot print.
serial number, and then
In loop
here
every time
before registration number. Okay, serial number. Okay, so after displaying the row, serial number should be incremented. Forget the next. Okay, so this is a simple logic to maintain serial numbers for each and every row. Okay. Please unmute any student. So, what students' information you need? Please unmute anyone and tell me which students' information you need.
IT 17 batch.
Which students' information you need?
IT 17 batch.
IT 17 batch. Okay, so this is 17 batch, serial number 1. 1, 2, and so on. How many 17 batch IT students are there? Okay, 118 students are there total. Up to B9 students are there. Okay, so this is students' information. Required students' information getting from the database using servlets. Okay, so am I clear? If any doubts, you can raise the doubts. I can clarify the doubts itself.